Adam, what is going on, brother?
Hey Kevin, how you doing? I got some exciting news this morning.
Wonderful. Let's hear it.
All right. My couch showed up today. It was delivered that I ordered in November, and it's July when we're recording this.
So instead of the 2 day shipping thing that Amazon's doing, you opted for the 9 month delivery. Was it a discounted delivery at least?
Of course not. And the salesman made me think he was doing me a favor by actually delivering the item I purchased. What was that? 8 months ago or something.
Almost
um,
forgot that you had a couch coming.
Very interesting, right? Yeah. So I don't know how long it's been sitting in a shipping container off the coast of the US, but a friend of mine who works in logistics at UPS says the average wait time out there in those shipping containers on those cargo ships is 26 days.
So you were at 9 times longer than that, at
Yeah,
least.
because I mine wasn't even loaded onto the ship and pushed out of China for several months. Right, they had such a backlog at their manufacturing facility. The factory had labor shortages. I'm assuming it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Sheesh. That's crazy. That is a
But this
long time to wait.
this stuff's going on everywhere. I've talked to several other people who ordered furniture, same situation. Other pieces, like windows or building supplies or things. Um, all kinds of things right now just have these massive shortages in cars. I know as well. So it's just kind of a crazy time we're living in, isn't it?
Did you have a couch that you sold before this came, or was it? Were you sitting on the floor while you were waiting? How did that work?
I've got one for sale right now. If you go to Facebook Marketplace, you can pick up a really nice, slightly used, some
Oh,
slumber
that's
party
good.
stains, but it's overall it's a nice piece there.
Fantastic. Well, I guess we'll put that in the show notes. So if anyone wants to buy
Right
Adam's
on.
couch on Facebook Marketplace, but you got to pick it up yourself, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah, that one will not be delivered. You'll have to pick that up yourself. But the price of everything has gone up so much. I guess one advantage is when I bought this in November, I bought it in at November prices. They're definitely higher today. Everything's higher today, it seems like. I don't know if you've seen the used car market lately, but it's just nuts. People who have owned their car for a couple of years say, I could get more now for it than when I bought it a couple of years ago. That never happens with used cars. And houses, right? Like houses in my neighborhood are going for insane prices right now.
Oh yeah, I had a friend who told me his house appreciated, uh, and this is in California, over $100,000 in the last year, which isn't abnormal. And it wasn't even a year of ownership. It just that's how crazy the market is. And I look at prices of houses that I knew were in the six, seven, maybe 800,000 was a normal year and a half ago, and like now they're approaching 1 million for houses that are maybe 1,800 square feet at most. I know that's California, but still, the point stands of how crazy the prices are as far as housing market goes.
Yeah, I have friends here, and they have houses that are about the same size you mentioned in that $1 million range, on some water like canals, um, but still, you're talking about houses of that size in that $1 million range, which is a little crazy. And how home prices across most markets in the United States appear to be rising, and certainly the markets that I'm familiar with, they've risen like crazy. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that, Kevin. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think one of them is the supply shortage that I've read about, that you've read about, that we've discussed is
Hmm.
you can't really keep up with the demand for people wanting homes. Therefore, the existing homes that are part of the supply, naturally the prices are going to increase because you have more and more people wanting it, right? Decrease the demand, supply, increase the demand, the price is going to go up. I heard there were some issues with labor, with materials. as well, which is partly causing the supply shortage. But that's one of the reasons why. What do you think is another reason, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is spot on. And another reason I think is fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
People are seeing others snatch up these houses at ever increasing prices and are getting worried that they won't be able to find one. So then they jump in and start scrambling to find one and buy one as well because they don't want to miss out. And that starts to turn into a bit of a frenzy. And the next thing you know, people are really buying on emotion and they're not
Mm-hmm.
considering whether it makes sense to make some of these purchases.
And then for an emotional purchase, like let's say it's a primary residence, it's a home, you're not really looking for it to be an investment. That's a whole different conversation. But I can see why you want to buy something, but know that you're making more of an emotional decision. From an investment perspective, I agree with you. There are people that are buying thinking that it's only going to get higher, or it's just it's weird craziness of what's happening. And money is still super cheap. So if you can get that cheap money and make a return on it, then that's fantastic. But what I'm trying to understand is how are you buying things that are cash flowing? And maybe I haven't done enough of an analysis, but that boggles my mind too.
No, you're absolutely right because I have done some of the analysis, and so the low interest rates make it possible to buy more of a house than you would otherwise be able to afford.
Right.
But even with the low interest rates, it's almost, I don't want to say it's impossible. It's extremely difficult to cash flow right now. And so what is happening is people are buying on speculation that equity will continue to build. So they're not really buying on cash flow as we advise, as most of the wise, seasoned investors that we look up to advise. They're buying on speculation that, oh, my investment will continue to increase in terms of the equity I have in the property. And then in a few years, I'll be able to sell it. Things will continue indefinitely the way they are right now and continue to rise. I will make a lot of money. And then I'll take that money and do something with it, hopefully reinvest. But you never know what they're thinking. That's a very risky way to buy. And almost any veteran who's been through market ups and downs and has been in this business for a long time will tell you that that's exactly what the people who get crushed do when they're in the top part of a cycle.
So when we talk about speculation, I think even with the craziness of cryptocurrencies, I am not a crypto expert by any means. I am very, 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 very ignorant to the space, but the fluctuations in it. And you have people that have zero tangential interest in being an investor suddenly pushing, hey, you should buy this coin. Hey, you should buy this coin. And then it gets bought. They'll pump and dump schemes and people are getting scammed left and right. That speculation to me, that's just a prime example of that. And maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. And I know some people, I have friends that just are buying it for the fun of it, right? The memes that come out of it. There are people that are doing that. I don't think they're looking at it as an, it's more of a gamble. Like, hey, if I win, great. If not, I don't mind losing this money. But that is pure evidence of the speculation. I know Bitcoin was up to 60 something a few months ago, and now it's back down to the 30s. It's just crazy. And blockchain, definitely, there's a lot to be said about that technology and how it can be applied to the future. I agree with that. But just that's a prime example of the power craziness that speculation can do. And as far as cash flow goes, it's my understanding also that while the houses are appreciating at crazy rates, rents are not appreciating or increasing at that same level, which is leading to the ever shrinking margin of your cash flow, your net positive cash flow for these investments, and that's crazy too.
Yeah, that's right. Rents are growing, but not at that same rate, which is what makes it really difficult. So we're in this part of the cycle right now known as expansion. It's a seller's market, And we're, we, as you kicked us off earlier, mentioned the short supply. We've got a shortage in supply. So all of these builders will be trying to build and fill that supply as quickly as possible. That'll take time. But once it does eventually fill that, then there will be at some point a tipping point where there's oversupply, right? They're building as fast as they can to meet the demand, and then at some point overbuild happens, and then that's when the demand starts to fall, right? And that's when prices start to fall. Nobody knows how long that'll take. And there are lots of experts who themselves don't agree with each other about how long that'll take. So these people who are buying right now because they think it will always continue to go up and they'll profit from it, um, they will feel like they're making the right decision for a while until all of a sudden things change, and that can happen very, very quickly. No one knows when it's going to happen, and there's the risk.
I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. So if somebody's listening to this and they hear our message and it sounds like we're saying you shouldn't buy, is that what we're trying to say? No, I don't think we're telling you not to buy. We're further furthering the point that you should be extra conservative with your numbers. That's what I would say is, what do the numbers tell you? Are you positively cash flowing? Because that positive cash flow and the net cash flow, everything included, not what my rent is going to make me, right? If you see on Rentometer that you can make that your rent can produce $1,600, that's not what you're going to cash flow, right? What is the net profit you're going to make, and be extra conservative with those expenses. And if the numbers make sense, then that is objectively telling you you should do the deal. In my opinion, what do you think, Adam?
I totally agree, Kevin. We're not saying not to buy. We are saying keep your criteria. Do not abandon that, and buy intelligently, buy informed. And if the deal doesn't make sense because the numbers don't work, do not buy it, and make it about the numbers and will the property cash flow. It must cash flow, or you're putting yourself at risk. So I think that's what we're saying. Um, you use those tools, use your mind to do the right thing, and that'll reduce your risk.
Yeah, and one last thing is now is a perfect time to get creative too, right? Maybe finding the opportunities that are out there that people aren't looking for because the market's hot. And that would mean some people are laying off the gas waiting for the crash, or some people are just competing with the others in the hot market. There could be an underserved market out there where you could solve those problems, because when you find a problem to solve, there is a profit to be found. So it's another thing to keep in mind as well. But run your numbers. We highly recommend being conservative. If you need help trying to analyze a deal, send us an email. Send us the numbers. We're happy to give you our input of maybe different perspectives of how you can look at this opportunity and run the numbers with you. Send us an email, techguyswhoinvest@gmail.com. And if you have any questions about anything with regards to investing, shoot us an email too. Thanks, everybody.